Here we go, episode 592. No Laugh Track podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota at Acme Comedy Company. I am Justin Severson. I get to do this every week, including this week with a return guest. I didn't check, but it's quite a few. They're some of my favorites because you're one of my favorites. Myq Kaplan is here.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's so wonderful that you're here every week, including this. This is one of every, and it is always. This is honestly, this is one of my favorite comedy clubs to come to in the world, and this is one of my favorite parts of the week. I like doing comedy, but you know what I really like? Sitting in an almost empty room. That's one of my two passions. I love a full room. I love an empty room.
Yeah. I also know you love, doing comedy and getting paid.
That's fun.
No money involved with this.
No.
Yeah.
But I assume that anyone who's listening, by the time this comes out, that already hasn't gotten a ticket, may purchase a ticket, come to a show, possibly buy some merch afterward. So it's like a lottery ticket, you know? Most lottery tickets, you buy them, they don't pay off, but this could be the one.
There you go. Yeah, so good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Good luck, everybody out there.
Everyone out there, you buy a lottery ticket, a.k.a. a ticket to my show, and you will win. I guarantee that you get more laughs per dollar than a laugh is worth on the dollar laugh. Ran out of it. Didn't. Yeah. You guys get how the bit could go. You could write it yourself. Enjoy. This one's for free. The show is for money.
Look at it. You're making me laugh so much already. I need to take my sweatshirt off. I'm overheating with laughter.
It is hot out too. I will say that. I walked around a little bit. When I left, it was like a perfect, balmy, like it's early 60s. Is that the way to say it? It's the out. You go outside. It's the early 60s.
Groovy, bro.
Time travel. Exactly. Your shirt is very. It fits. It's in a book. Is that a Reading Rainbow shirt?
It is.
Yeah. Take a look. It's in a book.
Yeah.
And that it looks like that rainbow is reading. That's what that's the rainbow has the book open and is reading. It's a reading rainbow. Anyway, it's hot out. That's what I'm saying.
Final statement.
Yeah, it's hot in too. Hot comedy coming through. The comedy outside matches the heat inside. No, I did them wrong. Wrong order.
So one show down this week at Acme.
One showdown. Here we are. Yeah.
10 paces. Turn around.
Yes, one Wednesday night show. Always 100%. Like whenever I'm coming in. I've been coming here since 2010. Almost annually. I think there may be one or two here or there that I didn't get to.
Yeah.
But every time, my first time was right after Last Comic Standing. Packed shows Tuesday through Saturday. Now, most comedy clubs don't have a Wednesday show. Wednesday night, this place was more full than not. I'm always pleasantly surprised. I don't, you never know. You never know. Perhaps everyone who ever knew who I was in the Twin Cities moved out of the Twin Cities. Regardless, it was a good quantity of people and a high quality of people. We're often running. I had a wonderful first show. I'm sorry to interrupt your question.
I remember being so excited. I met you in 2010 when you came to Acme the first time. I had the radio job. You came in and did morning radio with us, and I was watching Last Comic Standing, so I was so excited to meet you. It was like, he's like a celebrity. I just saw him on TV.
I was small, now I'm big. Also in life, I'm small. So, small, big, small. The Myq Kaplan story.
I saw, it was maybe... I guess it would have been the end of April. You posted on social media. It was like the anniversary of the first, when your Comedy Central half hour debuted?
My half-hour Comedy Central special, I think it was maybe April 30th-ish, 2010. Yeah.
2010, same year.
Exactly, yeah. Big year for old Myq Caps.
So I am curious now, we probably talked about it way back then, but, I wasn't doing the podcast then, so maybe we didn't. But what came first? Were you approached by Comedy Central to do a half hour, or were you already, or Last Comic Standing?
I've been meaning to talk to you about whether you did or did not ask me this back then.
Just answer that question and we'll move on.
Yeah. I'm sure that you might not have. But no, it was a coincidence. It's sort of the way that, sometimes you see your overnight sensations that took 10 years in the making. So I started doing comedy, really pursuing it in 2002. Mm-hmm. I also just posted, I was looking back through the records, my first, I'm posting clips clips for my first Letterman set, which happened in 2011. I sent like my first video into to the booker for Letterman in 2004, and they were like, "These are good jokes." And then 7 years later, there we are.
Wow, think about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I did Comedy Central's Live at Gotham was my very first, like real, like legitimate TV set.
Okay.
And that was in 2008. And then I was very fortunate that, like I think like 48 people do, Live at Gotham's in the year that I did
Sure.
it. Maybe that was like the 4th season. And then every year was different for Comedy Central half hours. Like the Presents, they definitely didn't have 48 a year.
Yeah.
So like everyone who did a Gotham didn't get a Presents, and there's the people from the past years, and there's people who didn't even do, there's all kinds of, bottlenecks like leading to another lottery ticket that I'm very fortunate and grateful to have won.
Yeah.
But so I did that in 2008 and then submitted my half hour. I think I recorded my first album, Vegan Mind Meld, in 2009, which would come out in 2010. I took that set and submitted it. It was about like a 45-minute set, submitted it to Comedy Central in 2009, and they accepted it to record the half hour, which recorded in like November of 2009, came out also around like April, May, June, somewhere in early to mid 2010. So that was already in the works, and then I think I auditioned for Last Comic Standing in March of 2010. So it was just like a happy coincidence of everything.
A lot
coming
happened
together.
that year.
Yeah.
A lot happened that year. Do you remember, when that debuted on Comedy Central, were you home watching it that night, or did you have a set somewhere?
I think it aired at like 11:30 at night or midnight, and
Yeah.
I am a sleepy boy, but so I was. I don't even want. I hope it was good, but no, I do remember it was a big deal. It was like the biggest thing
Right.
that had happened to me in comedy
Yeah.
up to that point. I was at a friend's home, and we had like a little watch party with a bunch of I think like a dozen comedy friends and the woman I was seeing at the time.
You did, okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, it was. We watched it. Maybe I had a set earlier that night, but like it could have had an 8:00 show.
Sure.
But I don't remember my schedule from 15 years ago.
Tell me,
Justin.
what you had for lunch that day?
Vegetable.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Could have been a legume.
Oh, that's fantastic. I want to be somewhere where with the guy who's on TV or the guy, gal, whoever, the artist.
Yes.
I want to experience that. I think that'd be so cool to be like, there you are.
The artist with an X. Yeah, that's
There you go. Thank you for
Of
coming
course.
for me. I appreciate that. So we talked briefly before we started here that I saw
weren't
your
at
set
my show
I saw your
last
set
night.
from last night, but I did not see it last night.
Yes.
Yes, I time traveled.
It's like a riddle. Yeah. I saw your set, but I was not there. How could this be?
That's right.
Yes.
So we use some technology here at the club, and
It's wonderful. Taping the sets.
Yep. Grace
super-
helped me out.
Yeah.
And I was able to watch it this morning.
By the grace
Thankfully-
of grace. Yeah.
Come on.
Good night.
Not the first time we're going to not the last time we're going to use that, I should say.
Grace, that was amazing. Okay. Good night. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm glad you got to.
So I
Why weren't you there?
I wanted to watch Masked Singer.
That makes sense.
No, I don't even know if that's on right now. But I know that used to be on Wednesdays. The Masked Singer. No, before you were announced being at Acme, I had purchased a ticket to go see Joe List's special in a movie theater last night.
Incredible. Oh, wow. That was last night.
It was last night.
Yes. How was that?
It was a really fun experience.
Amazing. Was it how big a theater?
Great question. So for people who don't know, Joe List, comedian, he was just here about a month ago. Brand new special. Instead of debuting it on Netflix, YouTube, wherever, he put it in movie theaters. One night only, one show only. So it was 7:00 last night.
In lots of different cities.
In lots of different cities, maybe 2 dozen or so. I
Yeah.
don't know. I might be exaggerating slightly. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
one theater in Minnesota. So my wife and I went there, had a fantastic time. There were it was one of the small, it wasn't a huge stadium theater.
Whoa, sorry, Joe.
However, packed.
IMAX, yeah.
Yeah, right.
3D?
However, it was a drive-in, and there was a line to get in.
Smell-o-vision? Yeah.
That's right. No, there may be 2 empty seats or something. It was full, basically.
Oh, yeah.
It was full.
I went a couple weeks ago. I rarely, since the pandemic began, I immediately, obviously, stopped going to movies when you couldn't go. And they started putting way more things online, and
Yeah.
I got, accustomed to that. Obviously, like, you have a big event that happened that you want to see it live. I've been to probably like a single-digit number of movies in theaters since 2020. Honestly, I think the first one I went to was like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and like very worthwhile. But yeah, I think I went to like one of the Fast and Furious movies. I'm like, I like those movies. Great to see it on a big screen. I think I only went to it also in the theater because I was scheduled to be on a podcast talking about it.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah, and same thing happened with the sequel to Black Panther. I was like, I got you. You want me to see a movie? You just book me on a podcast, and I'll go see that. I'm paying money to be on podcast.
Wow.
Now. But.
Doing homework.
The most recent time, I just bought a ticket to see my friend Aaron Judge's new movie that's coming to the Tribeca Film Festival in June. It's like, I think, a horror comedy that features Margaret Cho. I'm excited. Aaron is one of my best friends in comedy. We started together in Boston 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm like happy to support a friend. And I did that with Joe's movie a couple weeks ago. Went to see his movie about comedian Tom Dustin, Portrait of a Comedian.
Yes.
And that was what an experience. Like, I mean, I'm seeing like friends of mine, like lots of friends of mine, in the movie, being interviewed in photos. And that's if that movie is wherever and whenever it's available to see, it's a really fun movie.
I've been looking forward to it since I heard about it.
Incredible.
It's no scheduled showings at this moment in Minnesota or Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, but hopefully soon.
Or just go down to Key West, meet Tom. That's what I'll be there July 2 through 6, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe 3. Yeah, somewhere in that week, I'll be doing Tom Dustin's comedy. I've been there once before, many years ago, but I'm excited now that it's a famous movie-ified.
That's right.
It's the cinematic Key West comedy.
Oh, that's so great. So that's where I was last night.
That is the only acceptable answer as to why you weren't here live, but also the consummate professional. Is there any other thing besides a professional that can be consummate? I mean, like a relationship can be consummated, but a consummate, probably a consomme. This is the consummate consomme. I'm a new sommelier for the consummate. Come on, I ran out. That's my new getter done is I ran out. Yeah, some people want more. I'm like, less is that. I'm like Mark Twain. I didn't have time to write you a shorter joke. So the point
all
is,
of those need to be on a T-shirt. That's the merch you have, right?
But starting now, yeah, I'm sharpieing it as we speak. Unless you're watching the video, I'm certainly not. But
I knew you would be okay with me bringing that up because I saw you comment on his post about the movie.
Oh, I love Joe and I started out right around the same. I think I might have performed on a comedy stage before him, but not really pursuing it. I did like 1999. I was like 21 years old, and I was trying to be a singer-songwriter. That was and I succeed. I write songs. I sing. I am a singer-songwriter. That's what you do. That's all you do. That's a song that I just wrote and sang. But that was what I wanted to do for my career, my first dream aspiration. I'm sure we've talked about that, and let me just do my bits that I always do on the show about that. No, but I then, over the next several years, wasn't really pursuing comedy. I was pursuing music. And so 2002, I started doing comedy, and Joe, somewhere in there, started like right around probably, the early 2000, 2001, 2002. Joe started doing comedy in Boston. I was doing comedy in Boston, and it was love at third or fourth sight.
Do you think having comedy specials in movie theaters, do you think this is going to happen more now? I remember going to see like Martin Lawrence's special in the theater 20-some years, 30 years ago maybe? A long time ago.
I mean, I love anything that gets people excited about stand-up comedy, and this is it's such a cool thing. I wonder, I mean, I'm imagining, okay, so if this starts happening, people start doing stand-up, then it'll become not a special thing anymore, and people will be like, yeah, just another boring stand-up comedian in a movie theater. That's where I got to immediately. But no, I mean, I hope so. Here's the thing. I don't know if you've read any Taoism, but I think it's from there, or other smart people who say, the one who has knowledge does not make predictions, and one who makes predictions does not have knowledge. So the answer, and the Dalai Lama, Buddhist, not Taoist, I think. Who knows? I don't know. That's you're smart if you say you don't know. That's Confucius right there, or Socrates. I don't know. Maybe both of them. They're both pretty smart, probably. Who can say? Not me, because I don't know. But what I'm saying is, the Dalai Lama once was asked a question, and basically I'm paraphrasing because I don't know, and he said, "That's a very good question. The answer is simple. I don't know. So great podcast guest, the Dalai Lama. Every time I cannot confirm. I plead the fifth. That's the Dalai Lama on the stand on a podcast.
That's funny.
On your aggressive show.
The flip side of that is something that happened to me last night, and I don't remember what it was. My wife asked me some question about something, and I started making up an answer that I thought sounded good. Yeah. And then I'm like, no. The truth is, I don't know. I don't know why I'm guessing, and I don't like when anybody else does that to me. I would prefer the I don't know.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Here's the thing about me, and this is, I feel like I'm working on some material about this, but it's not fully cooked. But the concept is that I am the kind of person who, if you ask me something before you're even finished, if you're like, do you know this thing? I'll be like, probably I know it, because I am the kind of person who knows things. What was the question again? I wasn't listening. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of things, so maybe I know the thing. I'm like I think of myself, I feel like I know things, but one of the things that I've learned over the many years, like I have one of my best friends in comedy is a man named Myq Sherman, also one of my best friends in life.
Yeah.
And Myq, I wonder if I've told you this story. Tell me, say whether you know it.
Oh,
or whether
you have. You
don't
definitely
know
already said it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to jump ahead. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Stop me before you know whether you've heard this one. Yeah. Just stop me. Now I'm the mask. Okay. Somebody. Okay. So, Myq, one of the beautiful things, he's an amazing improviser. He's an amazing actor, writer. He doesn't do stand-up anymore, but he was actually one of the first people. I probably mentioned him in this context to you, that he and Rory Scovel were the two people that were the most influential to my shifting from being somebody who wrote down jokes word for word and just said them the way I wrote them, to being a person who, comes up with ideas, but then goes on stage and is open to what can happen experimentally in the moment, that isn't planned.
Yeah.
And Rory I met in 2006 and Myq I met in 2005, and right around then I was like, oh, I didn't know that you could do that. I thought it was just like, you write, you say, you're like, it works, good, it doesn't work, fix it, but I got some new programming in that joke robot. And so Myq, one of the things that I think made him such, a brilliant comedian in the moment and a wonderful improviser was that he was just open to whatever was happening, including, like, in his own experience. Like, here's the thing that you might be familiar with, this kind of like trope of an experience where group of people, somebody's like, hey, you seen this thing? And you're like, it's kind of familiar. So you just you don't say, no, tell me what that is exactly. You're just like, I'll probably figure it out. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I know it when I don't, but I'll just be like, yeah, go on. I think so. It sounds familiar. Like, there's other people here. Somebody will explain it. Probably. I'll probably get, and nobody does. And you go home and you're like, well, I guess I got to look it up now if I more admit that I'm a fool. But like Myq, 100%, somebody's like, hey, you know that thing? He's like, no, what's that thing? You're like, oh, wow. That's like the power, because I guess the fear that I, and perhaps others, I'll speak for myself, the fear that I think is coming through, that now that I know it, I'm like, yeah, don't do that. But the fear is like admitting that you don't know something makes me seem weak or dumb or like some negative. The idea like that I'm supposed to know everything. I'm supposed to know that thing. Somebody else knows it. I should know it. So I'm not going to admit that I don't know it. But that itself is the the more foolish, the weaker. And you don't learn that way. I forget. Do you know Brene Brown? Brene Brown, one of the most popular TED Talks.
I don't.
She is a social scientist, a storyteller, has had a special on Netflix where it's like really beautiful, funny, like science-based stories, like social science. Uh-huh. She is a researcher into shame and vulnerability and courage. And there's this book of hers called Atlas of the Heart. And in Atlas of the Heart, she talks about this concept from Buddhism, which is called the near enemy. And are you familiar with that? Great work. You're being just like Myq. We're going to get to that.
I don't know. I'm listening.
100%. You are as wise as Socrates.
Yes!
As wise as Socrates. I think that as wise as Socrates. I think I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I said it. So the point is, I ran out. Get her done. Here we go. The point, get her started. Let's get her started. I'm going to be the anti-Larry the Cable Guy. Larry the public television guy. Get her started, everyone. Don't get her started. Here it is. The concept of the near enemy in Buddhism is like, take something like compassion. That is a characteristic, an emotion, an experience that is positive. If you want to have it, you want other people to have it. Compassion is good. And the far enemy of compassion would be like hatred or apathy,
Sure.
something like you don't care. The obvious. If you're like, oh, what's the opposite of compassion? It's one of those.
Yep.
But what's the near enemy of compassion is pity, for example. Pity almost might look like compassion. Like if you see somebody or somebody being they're like, I'm being compassionate, but it comes with judgment and separation and removal. And so the near enemy is often more insidious than the far enemy because you can spot the far enemy, but the near enemy looks near identical to the thing that it's the enemy of. And so in this book, The Atlas of the Heart, Brene Brown talks about two things that are good in our experience are learning and improving. And the near enemies of those experiences she offers are knowing and proving. And that's where I was coming from. I was coming from a place where I'm like, it's good, and I feel like our schools and our capitalistic society encourages people to be like, I know stuff and I can prove it and like proving and knowing. But if you think about it, you're like, yeah, if you're saying what you know, you're not learning what you don't know.
Right.
If you're proving something, you're not open to experiencing it. And so Myq was just this learning, improving machine, this human being who was just like, I don't know. And so in our friend group, I remember talking about it with a friend and we're like, we should all strive to be like Myq in this way. I remember having this conversation with a friend, and then I the next day I was talking to this friend, and I was like, hey, remember that thing about being like Myq? That's just such a good thing. And my friend legitimately was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop!
And I was like, hey, you're doing it. And he's like, no, I sincerely don't know. And I was like, oh, I was talking to a different friend yesterday. I was talking to Josh Gondelman yesterday and Zach Sherwin today. They're both comedian friends from Boston who went to Brandeis, so I confused them. And now I can admit it. The point is, what were we talking about?
Has Nike gone after you for the Be Like Myq?
Oh, I gotta keep it on the down. That's a good question, a funny joke, and the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. Last night or this morning on stage, depending on when it was viewed, you talked about writing poems. You mentioned Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
All types of things. I did something, this could go terribly wrong, but we're gonna attempt something here, completely new direction. I went on ChatGPT and I said, write me a poem about Myq Kaplan and have it include that he's going to be on the podcast, no laugh track, and that he has, as of today, 3 nights, 5 shows left at Acme. In the style of Dr. Seuss.
Wow.
This could be terrible.
Uh-huh.
Ready?
Yes.
A Myq Kaplan in Minneapolis, hooray! This is the title of it.
Okay.
In the land of lakes where the snow likes to play came a comic named Myq who had quite a way. With a brain full of puns and a mouthful of glee, he zipped into town with a mic and a plea. Come hear me on Thursday. I've only one show. But don't fret, dear laughers, there's more laughs to go. For Friday brings 2 and then Saturday too. A double dose weekend of brainy ha-has for you. He's clever, he's quirky, he's punny and quick. He'll dazzle your noggin with logic and shtick. He talks about time, about love, about trees, about tofu and robots and linguistics with ease. Not bad, huh? All right, but wait, there's more. Before you go roam, you can hear him on This Week in Your Car or at Home on No Laugh Track Podcast. He's telling the tale of comedy life on the laughter-filled trail. So if you like jokes that go loop-de-loop, I don't know about that one. With a nerdy, smart sparkle and Seussian swoop, then head down to Acme and don't miss the delight. Myq Kaplan's in town, and he's funny all night. The end.
Wow. I mean, I am afraid for our future.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, if a child wrote that, I would applaud them. Since a robot did it, no,
we
thank
hate you. Try again, loser.
Help us fix our world.
Yeah, right?
Let us do the art.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
fix the things.
I don't know if you remember last year when you were here, we discussed that was right when that AI George Carlin set came out. So this is we're a little over a year. You were here January of 2024, so we're a little over a year away from that. But this is where we are now in comedy and ChatGPT.
Yeah. Did we ever talk about the joke battle that I was in with a robot? Like probably 10 to 15 years ago.
I don't think so.
These guys from, do you know Peter? I'm so sorry. I'll get his name. But he wrote a book called Peter McGraw. Dr. Peter McGraw wrote a book called The Humor Code, where he's analyzing why things are funny. And his theory is benign violation. And that's not, we can get more into that. But he also, I think, was the person who hooked me up with this. There was like an article in Wired.com that covered, I don't know if it was them or somebody had like a very like rudimentary like joke writing algorithm. It could only write jokes in the form of I like my something like I like my something else.
Okay.
And so they were like, you're going to compete against this. And they wrote, you write some jokes like that, it'll write some jokes like that. I think it had some that made sense. Like, it was just very easy for it to do it because it's like, oh, I like my this, like I like my that. And it would be like a thing that meant a couple things. And so then they could be like, a homonym, a homophone. We can really do it. And that was where we were. It's so massively like the progress that has been made with what these machines are capable of. Again, I think not creating, but curating. And though the question then could be like, are any of like, what is creation? Because none of us human beings have created the language or our capacity for it. We all, were born into a world, into a society for the most part. If you weren't born into society, you don't develop language for the most part. There are my girlfriend has been learning ASL in the past year.
Oh, nice.
Sign language.
Yeah.
She really has taken to it. Inspired by another, comedian Drew Michael.
Drew Michael. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So yeah. Drew Michael has been hard of hearing for most of his life and has, in recent years, like he is working on material about, we were in Edinburgh together in 2023, and he had a show about his hearing loss, and he recently got hearing aids and also started learning sign language himself. My girlfriend, Rini, he came to my last special taping that was Rini and I created about, I think we've probably certainly talked about that in advance. Mm-hmm. It will be coming soon in its finished form called Rini. You heard it here first, maybe. I probably said it other places, but you're hearing it here first.
Certainly I am, yes.
And after our special taping that Drew came to, we were hanging out, and he was talking about what was going on with him. He was very excited about the sign language community, the deaf community, and he showed Rini a couple signs, and she really took to it, and she started taking classes immediately, and she is loving it. And the reason I bring it up is because, sign language history does not go back that far. It's just like several hundred years, really, because deafness was often seen as, at some points, like signs of, unwellness, like the devil, variously, and people even up to, just a few decades ago. Deaf people were encouraged not to learn sign language in some places. They were encouraged to try to read lips and speak. And, can you imagine, the point is that, there were, obviously, if there were multiple deaf people, like deaf children, like in an area, they would develop their own style of communication. They would develop like a form of language that, as long as you had one other person, that human communication, is a biological, need, the mechanisms are in us. So somebody first noticed, was like, oh, I think that people didn't used to think that sign language was language, but then somebody was like, I think that could be language. And they're like, it is language. In some ways, it can do more things than, you can do things spatially. You can communicate multiple things at a time. We can only say one word at a time, unless you're one of those Tuvan throat singing monks, most people, I don't know if you are. I don't know. Get her done.
You don't know.
Get her started. But we don't know. But the point is, what are we, what is the difference between creating and curating? I wrote a joke once. It goes a little something like this. Dr. Frankenstein, they say, created a monster, but I say he curated a monster because he was just putting pieces together from other stuff. And that's certainly what AI is doing, but it's also in some ways what many of us are doing. You must know Nick Vatterant, the wonderful comedian, friend of mine. I remember I had him on my podcast once, and I asked him, Nick, how are you funny? How do you do the funny things that I'm like, truly, I don't know, like, because it's just, he's, like, I think any genius, any, like, brilliant comedic mind, like, there's two types of jokes, at least. One type, maybe there's more than two, but there's at least two. There's not just one, maybe there's one. Okay, there could be zero. There could be no types of jokes, but I think there's two. Two, give or take two, or more. Two, give or take infinity, and this is one of them. The other kind, no, two types of jokes. One is, like, when as a comedian, if I watch a comedian tell a joke, like a brilliant joke, that I like has some kind of, word, like either wordplay or misdirection or a mathematical, equation-like nature to it. Be like, oh my God, what a brilliant joke. I wish I had thought of that. Yeah. I wish that, I was in the right place at the right time to have had that thought. Like, that's one brilliant, wonderful joke, but I'm like, oh, I think I could have done something like that. Yeah. The other kind is like somebody that you're just like, how, like the first time I saw Kate Berlant, the third time I saw Kate Berlant, I'm like, the first 3 times I saw her, I was like, the first 2 times I saw her, I was like, this is incredible, incredibly enjoyable. And I was like, does she know what she's doing? Because it was this really out there. I was like, I can't do this. I'm enjoying it. And the third time's the charm. I was like, that's a pattern. She's doing 3 different sets that I think are like unbelievably like ethereal and weird and just like connected to something, but I don't know what. And I was like, that is a genius doing something on purpose, not just somebody. I was like, because every once in a while you might go to an open mic and be like, is this person in control of their instrument, or are they just like flowing through it? And you're like, wow, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're gonna, like, will they show up? Do they know what time is? That kind of thing. But that's the second kind of joke, is the one that you're like, wow, what are they doing? How do they do it? So when I asked Nick Vatterott, I'm really impressed with myself for remembering all the threads. It doesn't always happen. But
get her started.
I know. So I asked Nick on my podcast, how do you do it? How are you funny the way that you are? And I think I'm paraphrasing his answer. He says, like, I don't know that I am funny, but if I am funny, then one of the ways that I am funny is I observe people and I observe the world and I create kind of characters in my mind that are made of all the pieces of different people that I've seen. Like, I might be like, oh, this character will talk like that one and move like that one and have topics like that one says. Yeah. But in the inflection of this one. And I was like, I'm so glad I asked, because that is certainly not what I think that I'm doing. Yeah. But I mean, maybe we're all doing that to some degree. Some people are like explicitly like, oh, this is what's happening. I saw this happening. I saw a person, they said a thing, they walked like this, and then I reacted like this. But he's, either consciously or subconsciously, he's like, taking in all of what he sees. Like, I think Nick Vatterott is AI. I think that might be something. Yeah. I think he's coming for our jobs. Hide your kids, hide your wives,
I knew it.
Yeah, but yeah, so the point is, very impressive poem.
Well, I'm on a first-name basis with my chat GPT, so I will pass along your compliments.
What's the name that you have for?
Riley, just like the name of the kid in the... No, I'm making that up.
My friend Gus is a friend I probably talked to you about as well. Comes up a lot in my life. Good friend. And he is one of my friends he's probably my friend who talks to GPT the most, that talks to me about talking to GPT the most. I have like a couple other friends.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah. There'll be more.
Absolutely. And he has, he does the version of it where, you pay money so that it remembers your conversations, from time to time and month to month. And he's shared like these beautiful stories. People are having really beautiful, meaningful experiences with it. And I am very grateful for that. The same way that people, like people are, they contain multitudes. Like, there are people who are doing wonderful, like creative, constructive, like compassionate things, and then there's other people doing their best. And so, of course, it makes sense that the same way that a hammer is a tool that can be used to build a building or smash a window.
There you go.
The phone is a tool that it could be helpful if you use it in some ways, and if you put it to your head the first thing in the morning when you wake up, that's like, don't do that with a hammer or a phone. Don't do that with any of your tools.
Speaking of that, is perfect way for me to bring this up. This morning, I was like getting ready to leave here, or this afternoon, I guess. And I'm checking, like, all right, I got this for after I leave Acme. I reach for my I reach to my left pocket for my phone. I'm like, oh no, is it upstairs? It's downstairs. It was in my other hand.
Ha! Oh yeah. I think that is a perfect example of the way that, I mean, again, sort of tying together all many things that we're talking about, like what AI is doing and sort of conglomerating from multiple sources. Like when it purports to be creating things, it's just that it's taken in so much that it's just like, oh, I'm going to use a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, a little of that. Like some people are doing, in some forms, you know. And sometimes we call it art, and sometimes we call it theft, and you, in Buddhism, they say that, what a person, what we think of as a person, the definition of a person in Buddhism, a person is constructed of 5 aggregates. And the 5 aggregates, I never remember them all exactly. One of them's the body, like the physical form, and then the other ones are consciousness and mental formations and emotions, and there's one other one, and I don't know.
Forgetfulness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably it. Yeah. You nailed it. And the thing is that these 5 things don't add up to something different than those 5 things. It's not that you have a left hand and a right hand and a body. It's not that you have arms, legs, and limbs. That's just what we call. It's the diagnosis is the combination of the symptoms. That's what the disorder is, or the disease, or whatever. The disease of what a person is these things combined. Your body, your mind, your thoughts, your consciousness, etc. And so you, literally, it was like your body was a conspiracy. Your body was a conspiracy. Literally, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing.
Come on.
That's what they say.
It sounds like a saying. I don't know. All right, I have one final question for you, sir. And I didn't get to.
Are we recording? Yeah.
Can we start?
Yeah. Get it. Get her started. Yeah.
So I watched like I said, the video of the show last night. So I only saw maybe the first 2, 3 rows
you
of the
didn't get
people.
To see Jimmy.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
There was someone with face tattoos that was intimidating you just by how they looked. I want to know, what was the conversation after the show? There had to have been one.
100% there was. Well, first, I'll tell you things that you wouldn't be able to have, maybe you could have gleaned if you were the greatest gleaner in all the land.
Mr. Glean, they call me.
Just because of your head. It's full of knowledge that you've gleaned. And so, under your bald hat. Okay. Your bald hat? Yeah, nailed it. Okay, so the point is, hey, you got plenty. He's got plenty. It's a different reason for a hat. Just likes wearing a hat.
Mm-hmm. Don't like combing it.
Yes.
All right,
solid.
anyway.
So before I had an interaction with him out loud, I would say somewhere in the first 10 minutes of my set, I noted that he was probably in the 3rd or 4th row off to the side. Yeah. And he was with maybe a party of 4 or so, and I noticed he was on the end, and he started leaning over, the old leaning glean. He leaned over, and I saw him very respectfully, I didn't hear what he was saying, but I saw that he was physically it looked like, my guess was his face didn't look like, wow, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. His face looked like, should we get out of here? I don't know what's happening. Maybe this isn't the time for us to be at a show. And so that happened, and I noticed it, and I if it had kept happening, I would have mentioned it, but somewhere, within the next 5 or 10 minutes, in the hour that I was up here, I'd say the very earliest stage, I was like, ooh, I don't know what that guy's all about. And then the next thing I knew, he was responding so positively to something. It surprised me in such a wonderful, perfect way. I was like, oh, this guy. And then the thing that you obviously experienced when you listened back was me being like, you scared me. And I'm like, you initially induced fear, and now love, now joy. It went from fear to love pretty quickly. I'm very grateful that it went so quickly. But after the show, to answer your question, the conclusion to the story that you don't know yet, but now you will, he came over. I was selling some posters and books. He came over. He bought a poster and a book. He paid with a $100 bill. I gave him some change, or maybe he paid with a $50 bill, and I was like, keep the change. A poster and a book do not cost a full $50. But he gave me a $50. I was like, let me get some change. He says, keep it. He's like, I loved it. And then he's like, at first I was not following you, but then I got it. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, that's what other way? I've been talking with my girlfriend for years about, like, in 2018, she read Moby Dick and then embarked upon a journey of many, like, classics, like, your top 100 lists of classic literature of all time. And her expression, like, she shared with me this concept that she realized, like, every great piece of literature is, like, written differently. Like, you can't just jump from, like, you learn how to read what you're reading by learning what you're reading. Like, each work of art teaches you how to engage with and experience that work of art. For literature is what my girlfriend experienced. She's like, then she got into Dickens. She's like, oh, wow, now I'm learning how to read Dickens, and that's amazing. And then, you do Anna Karenina, you do your various Russian guys, and, like, the beautiful thing is that every artist, every creator it's not just like, yep, I read a book, I know how to read a book. I mean, and in one sense, yes, you know how to read a book, but to fully, like, appreciate what every artist is doing. And so all I'm saying is that I'm, my comedy is like the works of Tolstoy. It is like the works of Melville. I was that man's white whale for a little while, and he figured it out. And his name, he's like, call me Jimmy Schmale. Call me Jimmy Schmale. That's obviously what I was working up to this whole time. But no, it was a really wonderful experience, because I do think that some people, if you're drunker and don't give it a shot, like, for any comedian, for any movie, anything that isn't just immediately like, this is what this is. Yeah. Like, I remember when I watched The Wire for the first time. It took a little while. Like, I've watched The Wire through at least 3 times now. Oh, wow. Like, with, once on my own, once with a friend, once with my girlfriend, several years apart each time. And it's, it's rich and rewarding. But in the beginning, I'm like, who are these people? What are they talking about? Because they're not giving you Cliff's Notes. They're not giving you a crib sheet to be like, here's who all the characters. You have to watch it to learn. And then there's, like, characters they talked about in the first season that don't show up till, like, the second or fourth, and you're like, oh, wow, like, you gotta pay attention. Like, I remember seeing a review for, maybe it was like the first Mission Impossible movie, and even that movie, it was like Roger Ebert was like, don't go to the bathroom, like, you'll miss important things. Sure. And, like, there are some movies that they're like, yeah, go to the bathroom sometime, you'll catch up. At the same time I was watching The Wire, I was watching Desperate Housewives, and I'm like, that's a show where they're like, I started watching it because I'm like, I want to know what the people watch. I want to know, like, it's a popular show. Sure. What's it all about? Yeah. And I watched it almost to the end. Wow. I watched the first, if it was on for 7 seasons, I probably watched 6 seasons, and if I could go back and recommend myself, watch 5. But honestly, I'm like a bit of a completist. I'm like, I started it, I want to finish it, but I then determined, like, I can't finish everything. I can't start everything. I can't, my life, this incarnation is limited, and I think that my experience of life will be more complete if my watching of Desperate Housewives is less complete. But I loved it in part I loved it for what it was, and I loved it because at the time, I would watch an episode of The Wire, and it would, like, work my brain and my consciousness in a specific way. Yeah. And then I was like, and now let's have a cool down period where, like, watching The Wire, I'm like, why, who, what, this, what, oh, and then on Desperate Housewives, they're like, it's a mystery, but don't worry, by the end of the season, we'll have solved the mystery, and these are the people, these are the characters, this is everything you need to know. And it was essentially, a more like a spoon feeding experience. I think it's honestly, like, I don't mean to belittle it or downplay it at all. It is a different work of art than The Wire is, and it was doing exactly what it was trying to do. I think that is the best work of, like, have you read Jesse David Fox's comedy book? Recommend it. I think you'll love it. Jesse David Fox, incredible book. He loves comedy. He's a comedy journalist, writes for Vulture. And one of the things that he does in the book, there's a whole chapter that's mostly about Adam Sandler, if not all about Adam Sandler. And he, I think for this project and or another project, went back and watched all Adam Sandler movies and ranked them. Oh, wow. Ranked them on a level of how much he thought Adam Sandler was accomplishing the goal of making the best Adam Sandler movie that he could. Not like the best movie, but like what is Adam Sandler attempting and what is he achieving? Yeah. And like a lot of what Adam Sandler says he's trying to achieve is like, I want to have a fun time with my friends. Right. Just making a goofy movie that makes us laugh, that makes, millions of people laugh, that make millions and millions of dollars. I mean, like, he's just having a good time. And that really inspired me to be like, hey, like, I there was a time when I watched every movie that Adam Sandler ever made. Like, what was the first one was Happy Gilmore was the second one.
Oh, there was the Daddy one.
Daddy, Daycare.
Big Daddy.
Lil Nicky, but the Water Boy. But the first one, Billy Madison.
There we go, yeah.
He probably made movies before that, but, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, or, like, for a while I was watching all of them, and at a certain point, maybe I thought I, like, became too mature or too I thought I became too something for them, and I made other choices. But this article and this chapter in this book was like he's making really funny comedy. And, like, yeah, there's some jokes about poop that might not be your favorite if jokes about poop aren't your favorite. Though Jesse has an amazing point about why so many jokes about poop. And, like, what is it about poop? Like, poop, it's a part of our life that it's about our body doing things, and our bodies are deteriorating. It's about mortality, really. That's what the poop jokes in Adam Sandler movies are about, according to Jesse David Fox, paraphrased by me. Get her started. And all I'm saying is, like, yeah, Adam Sandler movies are a different kind of art than, the movies that are, I don't know if any of them have ever won, Best Picture, but the movies that win Best Picture are different than Adam Sandler movies, and they're trying to be different. And Desperate Housewives was trying to be different than The Wire, and so forth.
It would have been wonderful to find out. I doubt you did. Does Jimmy, like, does he come here and see other comedians, or was it just a random, like, he got dragged here and he didn't know what he was coming to?
That would be a great question. I do know that some of the audience was there to see,
contest.
The contest contestant, the contest ant.
I heard, yeah.
And so perhaps he was there for that reason. But I hope that he comes. Yeah, I hope that. Look, I want everyone to research. Like, there's comedy, there's art for everyone. Like, not every comedian is going to be for every person, not every movie, not every book, not every TV show, but there's some kind of art that everyone can enjoy. And I think there's some kind of comedian there's people who are like, I don't know about comedy. Like, the same way that people, like, that I at one point was like, I don't know about Adam Sandler movies, or I don't know, Married with Children was another one that I loved as a kid. Then I was like, never mind. And then as an adult, I was like, no, it's actually incredible. Yeah. Like, it's funny comedy that's trying to do something specific. And if you like that flavor, it's like, if you take a bite of something not knowing whether it's sweet or savory, that will determine what your experience of it is. You're like, ooh, this is sour. If somebody's like, hey, enjoy this sour thing, you're like, ooh, this is sour, From ew to ooh. the Myq Kaplan and Jimmy story.
All right, let's end it there. You're the best.
You're the second best.
Stop. For anybody, buy tickets. Come see Myq at Acme this week. I've said it before. You're one of my favorite follows on social media because you just throw joke after joke after joke. Never stop doing that.
I appreciate it.
If not for anyone, just for me specifically.
Yeah,
so thank you.
I'll stop when I'm dead. Or maybe before. I reserve the right. This is not legally binding, but thank you. I always love coming on this show and answering one question. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.